I'm Coral. I am 68 years old.
My name is Kara. I am 43 years old.
I'm Amy. I am 46.
My name is Jamie. I'm 41.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm 45 years old.
Hi, my name is Katie. I am 52 years old.
I'm Angela. I'm 45.
I'm Nicole. I am 45.
Welcome back to Interwoven's third season, featuring conversations centered on care and on celebrating and supporting women in middle life. We're thrilled this season to exchange support with In Context Inc., Not Your Mother's digital marketing agency. From customized websites to SEO, they work with you at your pace, within your budget, and ensure that you feel seen and heard at all times. Visit incontextseo.com/interwoven to learn more. Today's episode features a heart-to-heart between Wondermaker Collective founders Jenna and Mindy as they talk about the intertwining of their friendship and art project, the power of imagination, claiming one's own space, and the impact of daydreaming. A huge thank you to this month's featured musicians, Janet Ransdell and Susie Muehlbauer, for their contributions. Remember to hit subscribe so you can be the first to know about new episodes, and visit our website so that you can sign up for our newsletter, register for community events, and access all of our resources. Find us at interwoven.com. That's interwovxn.com.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I'm 37, an illustrator and designer, a cat lady, and a wonder maker. I'm inspired by pattern design, florals, and fantastical art, and I require a lot of alone time to daydream and recharge.
Hi, I'm Mindy. I am a 41-year-old woman who lives in Iron Mountain, Michigan in the Upper Peninsula. I have a studio space in the downtown, which is my favorite place to be, to create not only the Wondermakers artwork, but my soft sculpture and textile work. I have a daughter, Louise, who is 9 years old, and a dog named Chuck, who is a potato and also a baby. I drink a lot of coffee and enjoy watching 80s movies to be inspired by nostalgia and color for my work.
December is definitely a month of reflection, especially just because that's when we started our project, The Wondermakers. And before even starting that project, we were, I think, was there maybe like a couple months that we were just chatting online after we were like, oh, hi, hey, person who went to the same undergrad as me and same teachers and some overlapping pals, we should be friends. Do you remember when we first started kind of talking?
I think it started with, we became Facebook friends eventually. I think your face kept like popping up on my Facebook as somebody I might know. We had so many mutual friends and our professors from undergrad, so that we like finally became friends. And then it was just an outpouring of liking everything we were doing together. So like anytime you posted something or you were sharing your artwork, I was all over it. Anytime I shared anything, you were all over it. And we were like, we should be friends. Like, I shared something about the Sweet Valley Twins. You read those books as well. So we had a connection there. And we talked about how much we wanted to be in the Unicorn Club, which was a club in that book. And then you made me a shirt and sent me a care package.
That is my love language, is to like make things for people and send it. So if that makes sense in my mind. I think our project has become so big that I start to forget some of those early just connection points with you, because I did always hear about you at school. And we went to the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay undergrad for in the studio art department. And when I started my 2D design class with Jenny Rothgren, immediately she was like, you're the new Mindy. And I had no idea who you were because you had just graduated. So there was no overlap for us in that physical space, but you had like left a mark, and I was coming in and people were lining it up before we even had any idea that there was really an alignment there, which was astute.
That's such a magical history of our friendship, is that it started before we even knew it started. Because
that's true. Yeah.
The people we really care about and know us both so deeply saw it before we ever put it together.
I even ran into you once trying to come back to school to visit a teacher, and you were adjuncting. And instead you opened the door, just a little peeved because you were taking a break. And I was like, oh, sorry. Oh, yes, sorry. Okay, bye. And it's like looking back at and seeing that exchange, knowing you so well now, is just comical to me, that there was just a, okay, well, bye. And then just like two doors closed and I walk away. Like we have no clue that one day that would have turned into probably a 3-day adventure.
Oh, for sure. I think that having that connection at art school is like such a foundation of who we are as individuals, and what motivates our projects so much is this idea, and we talk about this all the time, just when we get a chance to hang out together, is that this idea of living on campus and what would it be like if we got to go to school together, because we never got to share that experience together. But we overcome that in so many different ways and created our own experience of being in art school together. The roots at Green Bay are such a foundation of our story, but we've exceeded it above and beyond in so many ways.
Well, and when you say that about like recreating something we wish we could have done, that harkens back to some of those early conversations we even had when we started to become friends, talking about those childhood books that we would read, the clubs that we'd want to be a part of, how we played just as kids, the imagination, playing office, pretending your bedroom was an apartment and that you just lived in this adult space, even though you were a child, and then creating kind of that same idea of if we were in college together and we had our own club and we did our own thing, what would that look like? And so then we still are kind of playing club and making up for a past thing, but recognizing that it's totally new, especially in this phase of our life.
It touches into so much of the nostalgia of those early childhood stories, and being college art students, I think it fills our hearts in a way that it is totally new, and it creates this amazing experience that we get to have with each other that feels exclusive, that we have this imaginary club together that's grown into something really tangible. We get to share it with a bunch of other people, and it's really exciting.
That was the root of Wondermaker, was just wondering what we could make together, and then trying to figure out logistically, because you were at the time, this was back in December of 2015, you were living in New Hampshire and I'm in Minneapolis.
And then we got to do the pen pal exchange. Like if we get to send each other stuff back and forth, that started with that care package you sent me. And then I sent you something, and it was like, well, we were sharing like our favorite lip glosses with each other, or now I'm trying this, like things that we were doing to take care of ourselves, and then how we took care of each other in our friendship started so early on before we even started exchanging artwork. I remember it was that December of 2015 where we were like, all right, we're collaborating. We're the Wondermakers Collective. Let's make a website. Let's brand ourselves. And we had not made one piece of artwork yet, but we were like, let's do it.
Not a single thing. I was insistent on making sure that it felt legit and it was anchored in some reality. And even though we had really big aspirations for like, oh yeah, it's going to be huge. This is going to be a really great project. We just had so much ambition, and I needed it to be anchored in a way that it was real enough. And I think that was a security blanket to also be like, you're in this too with me, right? Like you're also, we're in this together. We both paid for a website, and then we had to figure out what we were going to make logistically being so far apart. That started with a lot of those childhood stories that we shared back and forth. I was doing pattern design as an illustrator. You were sewing soft sculpture. So we tried to mash those together.
In that early day too, like setting up the website also made it a legit thing. Like we owe this to each other now. It's funny to me how comfortable that was right from the beginning. I had all the faith in you. It just right away felt like a sisterhood. I didn't worry about like, well, what if we don't make anything, or what if we don't do something? It was just, we're doing this. Of course we're
doing it. We were both really goal oriented. And also it should be noted that at the time, Louise, your daughter was 2? You're a mother of a young daughter. But at the same time, you're so art motivated that I had no reservations about, oh, is this mother of a 2-year-old going to have time to work on this project with me? It was always life comes first, but this is also important. And we always gave each other a lot of space to let life come first, but we never had to pull one another back in, even in those early, we don't know what we're doing days.
I think that's something that makes our project so strong, is that our friendship has really blossomed into something so tight and so loving that it naturally shines through what we're doing in our art life. I mean, since 2015, all of the life things that we've gone through collectively together have been massive. There's been massive changes and massive life events, and never once did anything slip under the cracks. And it's never felt like, well, I'm carrying too much of the weight now, you're not doing enough. And I really believe our friendship, because of our solid foundation of our friendship, it never feels that way or has to feel that way.
I'm holding space for you and you're holding space for me. And there's such a comfort to that and it feels like it's nourishing before we even had figured out that this was going to be a project about embroidery, because we both wanted to finally work on the same space. I have a history of using embroidery in some of my work in the past. I would stitch on photographs, like little comics, and you were stitching magnificent goddess lady doing your sculptures and like fibers and stitching from, I don't know when you started. You probably came out of the womb with a needle in your hand. So it makes sense to me now, even talking about it just in this moment, that the two of us kind of collashing onto the same matrix with embroidery, where I start stitches or you start stitches and we mail these pieces back and forth, and you just add or respond or build up more and more texture and color, and not have a plan for what these pieces will look like until they feel finished. And it really is when it feels finished. It's never been a hard system.
It's always been that, like, it's so intuitive. The work is so intuitive. All of that build up and responding to one each other's, like our mark making techniques, again, goes back to how we take care of each other in our friendship. And it's having no filter when we approach the art making, and trusting each other, knowing that we're going to approach this with the same amount of care that the other person is doing.
And it made it work for pen pal. We work with felt on the hoop because it just has, in my opinion, a cleaner edge around the outside when we cut it. And I love working with felt. It like feels really cozy to stitch through.
It's such a nice matrix too, because it can hold so much.
You could use that as a metaphor for like, okay, what could actually hold the weight of the power of the two of us when we're together, just tornadoing through a space to work on something at the same time? Like, we need a strong matrix to support it. Taking them out of the hoop and sending them to you. And we both use our own supplies, but a lot of overlap can happen when I'm working with a color that I think you might enjoy and you're not under any obligation to use it, but I'll roll some up and send it to you with some treats, or again, another lip gloss that I really like right now, or it's like a care package, but we were making art.
And it's never stopped being a care package. That's the best thing about it, is that even in the beginning, our exchanges were more frequent because we were trying to figure out what to stitch, how we were approaching it. And we had all different kinds of sizes of hoops, and we were just experimenting and kind of going buck wild with it. But even now that things are more curated and there's a lot more intention behind the work now, I think those care packages become more curated as well. So when we're switching the work, and we're not only exchanging hoops now and a lip gloss here and there, but it's like we're exchanging the work, some materials that accompany the work, maybe a lip gloss, maybe a fruit roll up,
or a fruit roll up just dropping out with a note that says, looks like you could use this.
Maybe some gum. Do you want this dress? Or I'm going to give it to the thrift store, send you a dress. And that resonates with how we talk to each other daily too. The project is there. We're wonder making. We FaceTime and talk about Wondermakers, but you're probably one of a very few people that I message every single day about anything.
Anything and everything. It's like the amount of support with a friendship that this close can receive from perpetually at a distance. We don't get to hang out together very often. I mean, now we only live about 4.5 hours apart. You're in Iron Mountain, Michigan now, and I'm in Minneapolis. And there's so much of that exchange through the mail with our artwork that feels like you're right next door.
Where we're having coffee and our FaceTimes will end up being 2.5 hours, 3 hours long. And I'll have to go make another cup of coffee. And I'm like, hey, can I grab you anything? I'm running to the kitchen. I love that when you know I am burning both ends of my candle and I am going to, like, I can't do one more thing in my day. I get a text message from you that says, drink water. Relax your shoulders. Please drink water. Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's that line that's like, okay, relax your shoulders, relax your forehead, unclench your jaw. And you just don't realize that you're holding that tension. And I feel the same way. I feel like you're on my shoulder. Like there's like a little Mindy sitting on my shoulder most of the time, that either is not just telling me to take it easy or to help validate sometimes myself when I can't do it for myself, but to also challenge me. Because you have a lot more bat out of hell. Let's just do it. Let's go. Like, you have a lot of momentum. I'm a cautious stepper. You have strides that influence me to take more risks, to actually like try things, to not overthink things too much, to really just go for it. And then in return, I can kind of give you the break sometimes to be like, slow down. unclench your jaw, drink some water. It's a good, nourishing friendship that has really developed.
Those differences that we have really complement each other when we're together, or even far apart where, you're more cautious. You want to make sure we know all the rules. And then I can just be like, yeah, let's do it. It gives our project momentum, is because there's such a balance of that. And we both bring very different perspectives from our careers, our art career, your design, illustration career, and my gallery career. And we're able to make this thing that can go in multiple directions, but in a very intentional way.
Working on a project like this, like the Wondermaker projects, and seeing these embroideries that have gotten bigger in scale or just in numbers so that we could try out new techniques and new stitches and new color combinations. And it feels like something I always knew I would accomplish at some point in my life. And it's just a lovely reflection to think about, okay, I'm 37 now, and I've had an art project for 7 years with someone I adore, and it's work that I still love making, and it has potential to still go in so many different directions. It's not running out of gas, and it feels like a really valuable place to be in my life, to have something like that to work on that's just separate from my own day job.
It's a different beast than anything else that I do, including my own personal studio work. I love that we are a collective and we get to do it together. And I think that's what makes it really, really special, is that I have this thing that I get to do, that I get to pour myself into, knowing that you're doing the same thing and that we owe each other these projects and the time together. But it doesn't feel like it's going to take over in any specific way, or it doesn't feel like something I have to do. It feels like, oh, I get to do this now. Even the computer stuff that I hate doing, I come to it with gratitude and excitement and relief. It's a place to relax and have relief from everything else and to live in a different world. And it's so connected to how both you and I approached our childhoods and our imagination and a sense of play and escapism. And we get to do that with this project. We get to create something we care so much about.
It's definitely something where I feel like I get to have a bit of my childhood, the idealized play of childhood, living with me now at this phase of my life, with a project that I feel like I'm going to the well to like fill up when I go to, because I do need a lot of alone time to recharge and to just daydream and to reset my compass. And when I get to sit and work on Wondermaker pieces and just stitch without a plan, it is meditative, and it is a comfort knowing that the work being made, I'm not alone when I'm making it. There's definitely a nourishing aspect to working on those pieces, to find rest and to actually be alone, even if I'm watching a movie with my husband, knowing that you're a part of it. I'm not panicking about where is this going. That is definitely something in, my late 30s and going forward. It's like that childhood friend club feeling lives now. And then how does that look? Because we're two adult women. So when we do get a chance to be able to get together, we're like, look at us. We can take ourselves to Olive Garden for lunch. We can go to TJ Maxx. Let's go shopping. We get to we're adults. Like a lot of that kid life inspires it, but then we're like, wait a tick, we can do whatever we want.
I think a lot of creative people and art makers do rely on that solitude for creating, and just like listening to your own brain space and figuring things out. I know that my studio is my favorite place to be because I get to be, it's mine. It's just mine. Mm-hmm. I'm in here alone. It's like my top bunk when I was a kid. It's just my stuff, my personal space. I get to do what I need to do in here on my own. But when we get together, like when we do a residency or we rent an Airbnb halfway so we can work on our project, I never feel like my space is crowded. We spent a whole week together in Tennessee at a residency, and it felt like a day. I'm with a person who understands me and I understand you, and it just works. We know each other's space. We know what we need from each other. We know how to spend time together. And
it's like boundless energy. We've learned over the time when we get together that, I'm more introverted. And so typically spending time with people will wear me down, or even people I love, like people I adore, other friends I want to spend time with. But once I leave, there's kind of an exhale, and now I'm ready to go spend time alone and build myself up. The friendship I have with you has created its own category where when I spend time with you, there's so much just that we share in common or both feel safe to be able to just truly take off all the layers in a way. Sure, I'm tired. We're like, it's like a tornado when we hang out. We're talking constantly. We're sitting silently watching a movie and then we're laughing. Don't feel depleted. Like I actually feel supercharged, and it's worth recognizing. And it's something that I value a lot. And I think you see that in our pieces because they do have a lot of this like manic crashed energy to them because they're not static, but there's not a lot of places for your eyes to rest when you get all the sequins and the French knots and the beads in there. And it feels like as if you took a conversation we had on FaceTime or in person and made it into an embroidery. Like that is kind of what it looks like.
It's so cohesive, even though we're so far apart. It still has a connection.
I wonder what it would be like if we were in the same town. There's a small fear-based nugget in my stomach that's like, if we lived in the same town, would this collapse? Because there's so much that I invite you into in my life. Once you get into like the daily minutia, would it collapse under that environment?
I think that we are so much a part of each other's lives, even on busy work days and stuff, the constant text messaging and sending each other memes through Instagram. We are with each other every day, but it's in a different way. I like how your husband mentioned that one time with the twinkle lights, that you can have those when you live with Mindy in the nursing home. I know that we'll still be doing this when we're 80 years old and we're on the Rasco scooters.
It does truly feel like I can't imagine not having this work and this friendship in my life. At this point, it feels like such a triumph to discover it now because I know that there's just so much road ahead of us.
And I love that we have a halfway point where we get to meet up. It's 2.5 hours and it's a escape from our daily lives. We always talk about a Wondermaker treehouse, like if we got to have a studio together.
There's a lot of aspects of my life where I feel like a late bloomer. I can get self-conscious sometimes where I'm thinking like, okay, you're 37, you're still like daydreaming about this clubhouse. You grow up. There's this feeling of getting down on that realization, but it does fuel so much of my enjoyment.
I'm 41 years old, but I do everything for my 8-year-old heart. I'm still living to nourish that child inside of me that needed it when I was 8. Mm-hmm. I am not going to apologize for that. I am 41 and I will wear a big pink coat and Hello Kitty earmuffs. And that's just what I'm going to do. It's who I am.
I like how you say that about how you're living with honoring your 8-year-old self now. And I process a lot of that stuff on my own as well. There's this feeling of, like this club-like friendship is what I wanted so badly when I was a kid too. And I had friends back then too, but it wasn't nearly as cherished in the same way. And it didn't grow with an adult life where when we aren't playing Clubhouse and like real life comes into play and it's just the boring adult stuff or it's tasks or it's things, I'm not holding you back to stay in this imaginative space with me or vice versa. It's more like, oh, life is happening now. Let's snap out of the Clubhouse mentality and get into support system. Just even in the way that we take care of ourselves and when we hang out together. I came up to visit you recently and I came in there and your daughter was like, okay, you get my bed, and on the bedside table there was some sleep spray and some sleep lotion, and like we know that it's so soothing to have the things that make a space that you're about to live in or take in feel really taken care of.
You do that so much for me too, Jenna. And I think that just with big life changes in the past couple of years, going through a divorce and completely moving my life from one place to another, being the person where I'm like, okay, I have to do this. And you just show up immediately. Like when I had to move and you came over to my house and we packed the entire house in a day and a half.
Even when life gets, heavy and there's moments where that play and that friendship still make those heavy moments feel manageable. Those moments where the friendship needs to support our lives versus the artwork that we're making together.
And this part of our lives too, being in this middle life. And it's where a lot of things happen. A lot of things happen in this time in our life. And there's still so much growth and learning and opportunity and possibility. And when I was at a point where I had to start over again, it was really scary. And knowing that I had you there to support me, but also I had this ongoing project that wasn't changing. It wasn't moving. It was something that I still get to do. And I still can sit and stitch and be in this space and escape and have moments of clarity. And it's so special to be able to have that. I think with all the things that we've experienced in our friendship, with how close we've gotten. I mean, you and Wes have watched Louise for a weekend where she spent a weekend with you in Minneapolis.
She loves him more than me now. Like, he just came like a star.
We become family. I think that's really incredible. It's really special. And it's great to have Wes be a part of the Wondermakers, to have our Wonder Hunks.
Yeah, when I'm working on these pieces at home, I would argue a self-care ritual to work on these hoops. I'm just kind of hunkered on the couch in a robe. My hair's in like a bun. I've got face creams on, no makeup. And there's just a little bit, I like to joke, just a little bit of a witchiness. Like, hey, Wes will come by and ask for something and I'll come out of my stitching trance and just like, what? And kind of bark at him. And then when you visited me one weekend to work on some pieces for a deadline, you had your robe on and your hair was tossed up and you had your creams on. He just stood back and he was like, my goodness, there's two of them. He would just throw a donut into the tornado and accidentally make decaf coffee, and we would just roar at him about it. And so he's so supportive about the project and understands the humor of how alike we can be, and then at the same time the manic energy that we can create when we're together. And he just kind of tries to stay out of the way, but he just loves to feed us and make sure we have everything we need. And I just love the man.
Having the support of a significant other it's nice that we both have that. There's an understanding of how important this project is and what it means for us and what it means when we get time together. To have a partner that really gets it is nice.
And we get this question a lot as far as like how do other people in your life kind of fit into this project? Because it might look all encompassing to everyone else because we involve each other in so much of our lives. Like we said before, life comes first, and our partners are very much not demanding that we give up something here in order to show up there. This work fills me up. I'm a better person because I get to work on this project. It fills a cup for me. So I show up as a partner who is more whole. And so there's really no dissonance for that to become a problem. It's not taking away from anything.
There's seasons of life that get really busy, and it makes me stop and really reflect on what's important to me and what things do I need to let go of so that I can continue to do the things that really fulfill who I am. Being in my studio and having an art life is the most important thing for me. I realize that when I don't have the time or I haven't stopped to pause and like pick up a hoop and stitch, that's what fulfills me. I think when we think of self-care, we think of doing an eye mask or getting a massage or something like that. But I think it is deeper than that, and really understanding who you are as a person and the needs that you have in your life at the moment. What's feeding you right now? Like what's nourishing you to be able to handle the everyday life, like to be able to live your domestic life and live in a place of peace, and having an understanding of that.
Yeah. And when we mail each other like the hand masks and the foot masks, feels like a luxurious thing. Like I always find that when I want to have a self-care thing, it's just sensory, being able to bring my nervous system to a place of calm, or closing the stress loop after a long day, and then to sit and stitch. And if I don't do that regularly enough, I can feel restless and a little manic and a little just jittery. And I know that it's a place that I need to go back to anchor myself. Yeah. So from a sensory level, all of that has a place in my self-care. Similarly, if I haven't stitched in a long time, I just start to feel a little hole in my heart. Making this work fills me up so much that when I don't do it, it's so personal. And I can feel it.
I feel the same way. We were talking about fitting this in our family life, and I know my family members see that too. If I'm feeling agitated, or it is because I haven't had the time or I haven't put the time into the stitching.
There's a whole world of people outside of us that saw that we should have been friends, see when we're being crazy and manic and needed to throw us a donut, can tell when we're grumpy and it's like, just go stitch something, please, and transform into a person I can sit next to.
And my daughter sees it too. And she'll be like, are you going to stitch tonight? Do you want to do some
Can
stitching?
you please stitch tonight? She's basically going to grow up with this project and this friendship always being a part of her life. I can't even imagine what that would look like from a kid's perspective to grow up with this. That's just the Wondermaker work. She's kind of built into it in a way that like I adore your daughter, to the point where we even were kind of playing on her child imagination when I would send her gifts. I sent her a gift once, and then she started this thing where she went to the dryer and opened it up and said, "Thank you," through the dryer.
So then the next time you sent something, I'd put it in the dryer and the clothes of the dryer, and there was something from Miss Jenna in there.
Just life in with our project really just is interwoven, and I would love to know what it looks like from her perspective to grow up with this project in her orbit.
Yeah, she's never known anything else. Jenna, I'm so happy that we're able to spend time together, and it means a lot to me that we're able to talk so much about our project and reflect on our friendship on my birthday, just the birth of our friendship. And I'm really happy that we get to hold the space together, that throughout our project, since we started it, all these big life events we've shared with each other, that we're still here and our artwork is just getting more magnificent and the opportunities are knocking. I honestly believe that's because we have such a close friendship on top of the collaboration.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And there's later today, I'll be talking to you even more. We'll probably FaceTime again tomorrow just to talk about life and what we're working on right now with our project, how our new Etsy shop is going, how the Wondermaker kits that we've now put together are being received, where we're sharing that process with people. We're starting these hoops and sending a kit and you get it in the mail, just like our project started and continues to grow. And other people are now invited to be a part of that club feeling where they get to finish making a piece and make those decisions and see what it's like to make work with us while you and I continue to keep trucking with these pieces on our own. It's a piece of my life that I value more than I could possibly describe, because it is such a place of rest and a place of excitement. Just the opportunities that have come with it fill me up so much and give me confidence in my art career. Anything feels possible because I have a friend and a partner to work on these with, and I can rely on. What a gift that is to be able to have a person in my life that I could trust being that vulnerable with, to have a partnership this phase in my life that continues to just be a sisterhood. I love you so much.
I love you so much too. And I'm so grateful.
I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for joining us today. We invite you to hit subscribe and to keep coming back each week for a new empowering conversation. We look forward to seeing you at our website, where you'll find our newsletter, event dates, and other amazing resources. Visit interwoven.com, that's interwovxn.com, to sign up today. This show's copyright is January of 2023. We want to thank In Context Inc., digital marketing agency, and the Sugar Maple Bar for their support this season, as well as our producers, Teresa Kopak, Rebecca Jankowski, and Jen Gilmore. All original music was created and performed by Janet Ransdell and Susie Muehlbauer.